We have arrived.
Will you do lion's breath with me?
Yeah, I will. Let's do a little lion's breath. Ready? Do you all want to do a lion's breath? Yeah. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale. Woo! Disfruta.
So there I am, standing above the lower part of Third Gully, under the watchful gaze of Lone Peak. I've done this run before, but at this day, there's a mandatory little rock hop in there. It feels about this steep, and I have all these negative thoughts coming in because I'm just looking at all the obstacles and thinking, I can't do this. What am I doing up here? Like I've said, I've done this before. And I look down. There's little Ben looking at me saying, what are we doing up here? We don't do this. You can't do this. You don't have the ability. I'm instantly transported back to being little Ben. I grew up in a very loving household, very dysregulated and dysfunctional household, very loving. It was my mom, my brother, or my dad, and my older brother. My older brother, he's 2 years and 1 day older than me. So I was born the day after my brother's birthday. For the first 5 years of my life, I literally thought I was my brother's birthday present. I did whatever that guy told me to do. I idolized, I looked up to him. The times when there was stuff not going right in my house and stuff, fights were happening and whatnot, and there was just dysregulation. I would sneak into his room and in between his bed and the wall would lay in there. He would at that time too be like, you need to go get me a glass of water. And like I said, I would go do that in the middle of the night, 1 a.m. in our scary 100-year-old home. But like I said, I looked up to him. I would do whatever he asked me to do. And then at some point along the way, I had all these negative thoughts come in, these thoughts of not being enough, not having the ability to do things that I wanted to do. And at some point, for every older brother, it gets uncool to hang out with your younger brother. So that was kind of something that really solidified for me that I wasn't enough. People didn't want to hang out with me. There were other times too, I remember I was running around one of the many parties that my parents would throw and stuff, just being my goofy self that my mom would always praise me about being. And people praised me for being so fun-loving and stuff like that. And I'm trying to get my mom's attention. She's talking with someone and she just goes, stop! You're being too much. That's really hard for a young kid to hear, very confusing. Another time too, I remember I called up my friends. I jumped up on the counter, called them up on the dial phone. I remember one friend had a lot of nines in it, so it would take a long time for it to tick back around. And I called them and was like, hey, you guys want to hang out? It's like, oh no, we don't, can't hang out tonight, whatever. And I was riding my bike around the neighborhood later on that night and heard them playing out back of one of their houses and kind of went and confronted them. They're just like, you're just a lot sometimes. We just need some space. Just like, oh, okay. So at some point, this really gets solidified in me that I'm just too much, and somehow not enough at the same time. But at some point in my high school career, I found drugs and alcohol. All those voices just kind of went away. So I learned I didn't have really any tools to regulate myself before that. Then I found this, and that's how I kind of decided that I was going to move forward through life, because I didn't feel like I was too much, and I felt like I was enough. I could talk to people, I could not feel awkward all the time, but I was still really having those thoughts. It just kind of numbed them and tamped them down. Fast forward to college, I've got friends. I find a girl, fall in love. She asked me to move to Montana with her. It's just like, okay. I thought this was going to be the breakup, it's been fun. I thought this was going to be a breakup conversation, whatever. She's like, no, I want you to move to Montana with me. I was just like, that's crazy. What the hell is in Montana? But I've always wanted to live out west. live in a ski community. And so I said, sure, let's go. When I got here, I found my community. I found people that drank like me. I found people that wanted to ski and party like me. But at some point that kind of stopped working, and I started realizing like I need to take care of myself. I need to figure out other ways of dealing with all the stuff that's going through my head. And at some point I just decided I needed to be done with it. My relationship is falling apart. All this stuff is going on. And I started, once I picked back up doing drugs and alcohol again, I started going down kind of a really bad path. And I was like, okay, I really need to stop this. I called my parents, those dysregulated, dysfunctional parents, and were there for me. And I got to go home. I got to find a treatment program that I went into. And when I was there, I got to hear someone say to one of the other clients, they're like, you need to stop talking about yourself so negatively, and if you don't stop talking about yourself that way, like, we're going to have a problem because you're my friend and I won't let my friends be talked about in that way. And when I heard that, I decided to take that and I decided to internalize that and do that for myself. I decided that I wanted to be my own best friend, that I wanted to be there for myself. Now, when I got back to Big Sky, I also cultivated a group of people around me that could also be there for me, that I knew that didn't actually think that I was too much, that knew that I was enough. And I started feeling that same thing. Now, I'm back up on that peak, under the watchful gaze of Lone Peak, above the lower part of Third Gully. I look down at little me and he's like, we don't do this. And I say, oh yeah, we do this. And I decide to turn in instead of going over to Gully 1 and taking the easy way down. And I, take a turn, go over some rocks because it's Lone Peak. Along the way you're going to hit some obstacles, but as long as you keep looking at the end goal, then you're going to make it. I take another right and I decide to point it, take a little hop over these rocks. I land the not so much powder at first, and then as soon as I get a little through it, there's just beautiful powder, and I'm taking wide, arcing turns, screaming to high heaven, just like, can't believe that I do this. I stop above the Turkey Traverse, I turn around, I bow to Lone Peak, and I just say, thank you. Thank you for everything you taught me. Thank you for teaching me that I am enough. Thank you.